All right, I can cut from whenever. So it's recording right now, but I can have it start whenever.
Last time we just hard launched.
All right, all right.
So I feel like hard launch is like just
Let's just
style.
go. Yeah, you just kind of. All right. Now we wanted to talk about, what do you want to talk about today?
So we had the conversation going earlier about kind of imposter syndrome and knowing how to best support students, especially, if you're feeling that imposter syndrome, because we're evolving and we're growing and we're trying to learn new things and new areas, but it's really hard when you're, especially on committee work.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of what we were talking about earlier, but then there were a lot of good topics that stemmed from that. And
Yeah. So I think that one thing to be clear is we're both, I want to say, emerging professors. You've had more time to be a professor. I'm definitely in my beginning years.
Right.
And it's really interesting going from being a student to being a professor, and kind of going through those trials and tribulations, especially feeling our own imposter syndrome as we're professors. And then
Yes.
we know our strengths, and I think that there are some areas that we can definitely work on to improve. And I think that what we both care about is making sure we're giving our students everything that they need to succeed. And sometimes that means that we need to learn, or sometimes that means that we need to direct them to somebody that knows better and has a good history and publication history of doing that.
No, I definitely agree. And that's kind of where the struggle comes in, is at what point is me as a chair or me as, a professor or whatever, at what point do I pass over that that torch, not wanting to hinder my students or my students' progress or anything, but also, having that responsibility as well to advocate for my student.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It really is. But, like you said, being newer and emergent, I love the term emergent as describing the lifelong process that I feel we will do in this career. Words are also hard right now.
No, I get it. And I think it'll be easier as we go along. One of the things that I remember talking about is us wanting to make sure that we never lose that feeling of what it's like to be a student.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I knew
go
there was
for it.
something really good there.
Yeah, go for it.
It's like we talk about in our field, we talk about in education, we talk about in many different fields that, if you're not in the trenches, so to speak, then you lose sight of what's important. You lose sight of what it's like to represent those who are in the trenches, and the students are no exception to that.
Yeah.
And one thing that's really nice about having the minimal face-to-face time that we do get with our students is we can kind of be reminded of that. Because you were just recently a student.
Yeah.
Like literally just recently a student. For me, it's been a little longer. We won't go into that. But, that's the thing. Like when I stop thinking about the student's perspective and what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, at that point, maybe I shouldn't be teaching.
Yeah. And maybe also, I feel like we have a large wealth of information to be able to share students. Sometimes I think that we need to put ourselves in conditions and places where we are the student, so that we can learn that again. Because it may not be that we have to completely stop teaching. Like some people definitely need to stop teaching. Like I'll just say that. Some of y'all out there, you need to stop teaching, okay? It's
Facts.
done, pack it up, get
We've
your
all had
retirement
'em.
package. Yeah, I just call those teachers like done. They're just done. And we all know that they're done. But there are times when you need to become a student again to learn what it's like to not be good at something or not know or not be confident and to learn. And then that gives you, I think, the empathetic processes to be able to help others as they go through that same process.
Right.
Yeah.
I always said that if education was more accessible and, I had whatever amount of money I needed, I would go to school forever.
Yeah.
And so like academia is a really good way of being able to do that. Like, yeah, you can have the best of both worlds. You don't get all of the cake, but you get, some of it. But you also get the joy of seeing that happen for your students. And so like it's good in a different way.
Yeah.
I think if you're doing things well, I don't want to necessarily say right, then yeah, you're taking on that perspective of a lifelong learner, and it doesn't matter what you are gaining that skill. So I love that perspective shift. I love the whole thinking of it as well, now you're teaching me, I'm learning more, and that kind of scratches that itch, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's a really great way to look at that.
Yeah, and our listeners out there, watchers, one of the things that I like to refer back to is Paulo Freire's The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And he really talks about how the dynamic between teacher and learner can sometimes be problematic, and how while I may be teaching you, I need to also learn from you. And it kind of goes back to our behavior analytic principles, where we're shaping them and they're shaping us, and we're both going through this mutual shaping of understanding, okay, well, this person needs this, especially with their environmental history of reinforcers, punishers, extinction, what have you. You learn, okay, well, how can I better individualize my support for this individual, because different things for different beings.
Right. And it isn't a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And that's also another issue that we could dive into. And I was actually having this conversation with a different peer earlier, and it was like, how do you determine at what point you say, okay, I've guided you, now you pick up, without starting to handhold. Like I said, a whole other topic for a whole other day, but it goes into that same concept, I think, and that's hard.
Yeah.
But I had a thought. I lost it, but go ahead.
It's okay. One thing that I do want to talk about real quick is our shoe selection. We are both professional and we're professors. Yes. And
that was the other thing.
We both were really interested in removing the way that professionalism looks. I did a keynote. I didn't want to come in a suit, because I don't think that I should make it look like to access the knowledge of information and the wealth of information that I have, you have to come from money, you have to be, elitism, all that stuff. So I wanted to kind of dress down a little bit and show that you can be at where I am, but not have to, when it comes to professionalism, have that proximity to whiteness and white standards and European cultural standards. So. The shoes that I'm wearing today are these, and
I've got similar, but mine are different on both shoes because they're kids' shoes.
That's really cool. That's actually a really popular thing to do in sports. A lot of athletes wear like two different colors. So yeah, no,
I love that.
Look, real quick spotlight.
Right.
Sneaker spotlight.
And it's so funny because conferences, you see a wide range. Like, I've seen a lady show up in like overalls looking like she just came off the farm. I've seen people in like full fancy tuxes almost. And it's just like, y'all, we don't have to be so serious.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
I agree. The most complex and interesting presentations that I've seen, especially when it comes to people from Morningside, when you see what they wear, like they will come with flip-flops, and then they'll take their flip-flops off, and they're just like barefoot, and they're giving the most complex discussions about generative responding and contingency adduction, and you're just like, oh my God, this was amazing. This is so much information, and you are just dressed completely down,
right?
And you don't care. But you have some of the most rich information that is going to be presented at this conference.
Right. Well, not only is it kind of challenging racism barriers and stuff like that, and socioeconomic status, all of the things that you had kind of touched on, it's a matter of accessibility too. And I feel like if I don't mention that piece, then
I agree.
I'm not doing my advocacy work. So I don't like dress shoes, and I destroyed my feet in my 20s. I stood on them all day in like heels, and so now it's like I want to wear my Nikes because like my feet hurt. My pants are actually like kind of a sweatpant type material, but I've got a lot of physical stuff going on. Yeah, I have like a suit jacket that I wear over my shirt so that I can kind of play the part, but ultimately my words are going to be the same. My credentials are the same.
Exactly.
It's so silly, and it marginalizes so many people the second you put that professionalism standard. And what even is professionalism? What is that? Like,
exactly. And then there's professionalism, and then there's doing your job, and doing the things that are required for your job. And then there's also you need to wear clothes when you leave the wherever because that's law. It's, you also want to be warm or
Right.
whatever.
You should probably wear clothes. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we can have those discussions, but draping it in this very vague term that's associated with a lot of ableism, racism, classism, other isms of professionalism.
Literally all the isms.
Yeah, that's really problematic to both of us, I think we can say. So I think that challenging that, especially with our credentials and our positions, is really important. I remember one of the students looked at me, they saw my shoes, and they said, "I love your shoes for the culture." And I was like, yes, you immediately understood what the assignment was when I walked in the door. And then when I start talking about precision teaching, maybe it's not such a long shot.
Well, and that's also the same concept in ABA of pairing with reinforcement. So it's like, hey, he can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
And I can't tell you how many times, because I usually don't have like typical color of hair. At one point I had bright pink hair, and this was like in the height of the pandemic because I, was bored. And then I could bleach and color my hair. Bright pink hair, I'm showing up to this place I used to work at, and I guess I inspired a couple of the BCBAs at that company that I used to work at to put like fun colored streaks in their hair, and they're like, my clients love it, and like I feel like I'm expressing myself, and like I just thought to myself, well, if Robin can do it, I can do it. And it's like, while I love that, I don't want that pressure, but like while I like that, I hate that people have to question it in the first place.
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's so silly.
I so agree with you. Being able to appear as you are, as who you are, as what you want to show up as is so important.
Right.
Guy's name is Joseph, but he wants to be called Joe, so you call him Joe.
Right.
It's that simple.
Pronouns, same thing.
Same
like
thing.
all of it. So
call me this.
Yeah, wear what works for you. As long as we're not like exposing ourselves in an indecent manner, I don't really see the issue. Or like, of course, wearing harmful or scary slogans or anything. But
I agree. I think that one of the things I had to go through is like when I was working as a behavior tech, I had really short hair, and I worked with a lot of students that had high levels of hitting, biting, spitting, throwing, pulling, whatever. Because I'm a large male, so they give us all those people. I had short hair, and then as soon as I stopped working in those areas, I grew my hair. I got dangly earrings at the time. Like, I don't have them in right now, but I had dangly earrings. Those things would never fly when I was working with those, because, they always tell you, pull your hair back, do all these things, but I was able to kind of relax. And now I'm like, I don't want people that are working with those populations to feel like they can't do what they want. Now, maybe the dangly earring, maybe, you're taking a risk, but, you can just tie your hair back or put it up in a way that's going to make you safe. But I don't want people to be walking into the job feeling like they can't be themselves, especially when they're so good at their job. We have so many people that are amazing at their jobs, and then they have to change who they are when they walk into the office, school, whatever, house, and that's very frustrating.
Well, it's a form of masking too. And we talk about masking primarily with neurodivergence, but everyone masks. And it just depends on what it looks like, how much of a masking it is, level of intensity, I guess we would say. And neurotypical people mask as well. And so I think that is a way of masking and suppressing who you are.
And AKA is code switching, you know what I mean? Code switching. Even like during my presentation, I was like, my NorCal side is gonna come up, but this is hella bad, you know what I mean? And I just I set up the parameters to make them prepared for what I was going to say, but then I say something, and I think that it helps you become more relatable. A lot. And it gives other people permission. And like you said, you don't want to have to be that standard, but somebody sometimes has to unlock that door. The only thing is, once you unlock that door and open it, hold it open for others. And I think that's what you're doing. You're trying to hold it open and then express hey, this is what is okay. Come on through. And if anybody says anything, tell them to come to me.
Right.
At least I feel like that. I don't know if you want them to come to you, but
No, absolutely. And, we have similar values in that way. And so I know that you and I both hope to continue to hold that door open for people. And, you know, if we're at the wrong door, please kindly direct us to
Yeah.
go to the other door
Yeah.
or whatever. I love that acronym to it. Man, I lost another thought. Dang it.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about supporting students and becoming emerging professors. Are there any things that you felt like when you started being a professor that you weren't competent or confident in, any skills that you've now kind of, you feel like, oh, I got this now, or I've learned and I've figured things out? Not that you figured everything out, but just
It's
like
a loaded question. I have kind of accepted that imposter syndrome will never go away. Maybe that's just me. I hope it goes away. Maybe it eventually will. But I think one thing that I am doing now is that, you know, when my students come to me for support, it's not just with their coursework, it's not just with their dissertation, it's not just with their thesis. I can't tell you how many times, even just since I took on the full-time role with you, that a student has come to me having difficulties in life and they show up for their scheduled meetings and they're like, I didn't make any progress, but I just wanted to be here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll let them guide the conversation. I'll say, you know, well, what barriers came up? You know, is there anything I can provide support? And most of the time they're like, I'm just glad you're here. You're consistent. You're reliable. That's me, the neurodivergent. Because if you change my schedule, I don't know what to do. But just listening, you know, I'll let my students dump on me for 30 minutes, hour, whatever. And by the end of it, they're like, you know what? My head feels clear. I think I'm gonna go work on my dissertation. And it's just like, I guess that's all it took. So that is like a big thing that I have learned that is completely unrelated to competency or measurements or anything like that.
That's important. Like, I have a student who is frustrated. I have a few students who are frustrated that they don't feel like they've been able to get through what they need to get through.
Right.
And a lot of the times it's out of their control. There are people that leave the job that are supposed to be their on-site supervisor. There are people that don't want to sign stuff. There are like all these different variables that are operating that's like, I simply was not able to get this done because it's out of my control. And I try to, as much as I can, tell them, hey, don't worry, I'm not going to penalize you for late work that's out of your control. I don't know what's happened in your past, but just make sure that we can do what we can to get this done before the end of the semester, and we'll figure it out. If we need an extension, we can get an extension, you know? I try to like ease their thoughts and concerns when it comes to that. And sometimes I understand you're doing your thesis or dissertation on top of other courses.
Yes.
And a lot of times students are so concerned with their other courses, they're not able to also work on the other thing. And I also am like, hey, that's okay. That's understandable. I can't tell you how many times I looked my dissertation in the face and said, not today, and not tomorrow either.
Right. And you know, we're both into precision teaching. We know data and, you know, analysis of all of it. Nobody's trend is a straight line. No. Nobody's trend is nobody's baseline is a straight line or data path. And, you know, kind of reminding students, just validating, it's huge. I've had students say, you know, all my chairs in the past have wanted to do is talk about my research. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of why we're here, but you're a whole person. You're a whole ass human, if you will. And it's just like, you know, there was even a student earlier and he was talking about, well, you know, I started with this is what I've done my whole life. It was about sports. You probably know which poster I'm talking about. And I'm like, that's great. And then he started talking about, well, I'm also interested in this, but like, it's new to me. And it's like, but that's okay. Yeah. Like, you are a whole human. Yeah. Like, there are many facets to you. And the students are no different, like regardless of whether you're their chair, whether you're just like interacting on their poster or symposia or whatever. So big thing I learned, and support all of it.
I agree. And like, I feel like a lot of people think that they have to specialize in one area, or they have to only take they can only take their knowledge in one direction. And I think I was talking to that same student and I was like, look, you have two things that you are interested in.
Yeah.
You can do both, but right now, if we're talking about dissertation, we want to be done.
Right.
So we definitely want to still work towards saving the world, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But if your goal is to save the world through your dissertation, you might be here for a long time.
Yeah.
And we want you to be able to graduate and then go out and do more work. Because what I've learned after graduating is that was just the first step.
Yes.
And now I need to make an ongoing commitment to trying to make the changes I think are necessary to bring equity, to bring accessibility, and to bring all of these other things that are going to improve the quality of life of different humans across the globe. To do that, I had to get these letters, and then those letters open doors to be able to work and reach further and further. And relaying that to students, saying, hey, let's figure out what you want to do. Let's figure out if we can do it, because sometimes students want to do stuff and it's just like,
maybe
you
not.
can't. Yeah,
maybe not that.
It's outside of the bounds of our abilities at this current point. Hopefully later we can get there. And then let's go and make appropriate steps towards a goal. Because I remember, perfection is the enemy of done. So if I keep editing a paper and never submit it for publication, because I could do that, it will never get to publication. But sometimes you just got to be like, okay, this is gonna have to be enough. I definitely have limitations, and I definitely will address them in my next paper.
Gosh, that's so true. It's painful to hear that because I'm a perfectionist too, and when I see a student come to me like that, I see them a mile away, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna set a limit. You can only work on this for so many hours a week, but that's another good point, and that is something I've learned is you have to really shift and it's funny because being a behavioralist, we individualize everything. Okay, great. Until you start teaching and then you start trying to treat everybody the same. You can't do that. And so you learn that, okay, well, this student thrives when I basically say, go do the thing, no limits. If it hits, you go with it. But then another student, you really have to rein in and be like, no, because you're actually damaging your mental health by overdoing this.
Yeah.
So that's another big one.
Yeah, because students will sometimes say, yeah, I'll just go do 76 things by our next meeting on Thursday. And it's like,
not practical.
Or let's do 3 and
take some me time and self-care.
Exactly. Because one of the things that I like to ask students when they're going to defend, or at least after they finish defending and they've passed, is what are you going to do to celebrate? How are you going to celebrate today or tomorrow? I want to know, and I don't only want to know, I want to put that seed in their brain that this is a big step that they should celebrate. Now, it may not be the completion of the response requirements to confer this degree, because sometimes sometimes there are minor changes that we detected in your defense, so that you say, oh yeah, put that in your paper, and then send it to me. But at the same time, that defense is a big milestone. So please go celebrate, because a lot of people just keep going and going. I never celebrated my master's, getting my master's. I just went straight into doctorate. And I didn't even walk from a master's. I mean, it was COVID, but at the same time, I still didn't feel like anything happened in between there. So it really kind of made that difficult.
Well, that's a big accomplishment. And like you said, you've got to really reward all of the steps of the process. And even if a student shows up and is just like, hey, I tweaked a definition, so I didn't do much. It's like, but you did something.
Yeah.
You acknowledged it. I'm proud of you for doing that. You showed up, you did the thing, and you know what? Life was hard around you, and that's okay. But I'm kind of curious, aside from all of that, what have you picked up so far? Because you are newer to this.
Yeah, I picked up a lot, because I feel like in the beginning I was saying, oh, I'll get back to you on that a lot.
Yeah.
Because I had to go look it up.
That doesn't go away sometimes.
Yeah. And rules change and everything. But what I've learned is that I know stuff. I felt that imposter syndrome for a long time, and I still will feel it. It'll go in and out. I think it's all environment contingent. But what I've noticed is that I know when it comes to writing a paper, writing a method section, writing a results, I know the basic bare bones of what needs to be there, what shouldn't be there. So if we take it back to that, bring it to where we are, then we can work to get to where we need to go. And when it comes to helping with students, sometimes I also have to know, I have to have some distress tolerance, as my girlfriend calls it, where like they're in distress and I can't always just immediately reply and like try to save them, because sometimes if I don't reply, if I like wait to reply for like a few hours, I get an email like, oh, I looked and I figured it out.
Oh, that hits hard.
And it's like, and sometimes I'll look and then they'll ask a question and it's one of those, it's in the syllabus. It's like, how do we approach this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I'll, instead of give it to them, like, here's an attachment, I'll ask, did you look on the syllabus, or did you read the article on the abstract, or did you read the article in the methods section? And then they'll respond. Sometimes they say that they have, and then I send the screenshot. Or sometimes they say,
I love that move. That's a good move.
Yeah. And then, sometimes they're like, oh, no, thank you for kind of helping me get to where I need to go. Because, our job is to shape them, but it's not to hold their hand and pick them up and put them where they need to be, because that's not an appropriate way to build masters or PhDs.
Right. I actually learned that pretty quickly as well. And I started to learn how to be more methodical about how I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm not going to just like silver platter, here you go. But what I am going to do is give you the tools to get to where you want the answer to be. And if it's not there, then you can follow up and you can. So that was a really hard lesson to learn, but yeah, I learned that one right off the bat too. Yeah. So it's funny that you kind of talk about that, because I got like flashbacks to like 6 years ago when I first started teaching.
Yeah, no, and I think that there's always things that we can learn from our students, and especially when we're working with so many students throughout their masters and PhDs, it's really interesting to come across all these different interests that they have, and then be like, okay, well, let's see this. And it's like, I've read some about this, but let's go into it deeper. And then you end up learning more about it. And it's like, we can't be experts on everything.
Some people try. Yeah, Some people want to be. They think they are. But that's another thing, humility. Like, I hate the word expert. I think that's something we've talked about before, just casually or in passing. But the word expert is so subjective. And even within behavior analysis in particular, like we've had those problematic discussions on, oh, what makes somebody an expert? Well, you have to have published, you have to have presented so many times and conferences and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, anybody's an expert of themselves. So like, what does actually constitute an expert? So I try to dismiss the term personally, and I just encourage that growing, that journey. So I'm on a journey of learning more about ACT. I'm on a journey of continuing to develop my skills in compassionate care, whatever that may look like. So.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I agree with your idea and feelings about the term expert, because I feel the same way. I mean, people will say, oh, Jared, you're a precision teaching expert, and they say that to me, and I'm like, no, because I'm over here thinking about people who like were working with and met and studied under Ogden Lindsley, and I'm talking to them like they're experts, and maybe they feel like, no, they're not also, but then like, I also think if I just brought it down to like as simple as possible, like I know a lot of Pokemon. I know there are 1,025 Pokemon. I could know the name of every Pokemon, but then somebody else is going to come over. Do you know all their moves? Do you know all their individual stats and all these things? So it's like that Star Wars quote, there's always a bigger fish. So that's what I always feel like when it comes to the expert. So I stay away from it as well. I say, this is what I do. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I have a background in. And this is, areas that I want to go. And I think that that's good for what I can do for now.
And that's that's kind of a beautiful piece of how society can come together and support each other, and, in smaller micro communities and, subsets of interaction and communication with others, is that, if you know about all these Pokemon, I don't, all these Pokemon, but my spouse would. So like together, you two could be like an expert trainer, right?
Exactly.
It's Poke Trainer, right? Like,
Yeah,
isn't that a thing?
Pokemon
Okay.
trainer. Yeah.
So yeah, then together you all create a bigger, better, more powerful, you know.
Metroid, or not Metroid, but Zordon or whatever from words. They're tough.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Let me just make sure it's still recording because I always have that feeling. Are we just talking to the ether?
Oh, you're good.
Oh, it is. It is. Okay. We're at 29 minutes. It's 30 minutes right there. You want to
Okay.
stop or are you good?
Yeah, I mean, if there's something else you want to cover, we can. But yeah, otherwise we can call it. I'm good either way.
Yeah, let's call it for now.